There we go. So good evening, everybody. Welcome again to the Art of Wedding Photography with our good friend Robert Pugh. How are you, Rob?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Yourself?
I'm very good, mate. Glad to have you back. Obviously, tonight in conjunction with our friends at Fundy. Rob, just before we get going, and for anybody who, might not have heard of you, let's just give them a little bit of an insight in you and how you got into wedding photography and the photographer and the training that you do today, mate.
Okay, well, I have got a little video to show you all once I start my presentation, so you kind of know who I am. But myself, I've been doing photography for forever and a day. I've got a diploma, a master's in photography as well. Started life as an army sniper, and then when I came out of the army, I decided to go back into photography, start up my own business. I was a celebrity photographer for many years, so I was the X Factor photographer for 3 years on the trot. Tom Cruise, Mariah Carey, Brian May, but just a few of the celebrities that I used to work with. But my passion was wedding photography, and it led me down a path of doing around about 32 to 38 weddings a year, sort of internationally as well. And then I've since become a Sony ambassador. I've been a Sony ambassador now for about 2 years now, and before that I was an Olympus UK ambassador for 8 years. So that kind of brings me up to present at the moment.
Bit of name dropping there, Rob. I've not heard you drop the celebrities' names before, but I like it. Fair play.
Yeah, I thought I'd just throw that one in.
Nice.
It'll update my resume every now and then with you.
Well, I've known you for a long time, but I've learned something new again tonight. So never any surprises. Brilliant, mate. Thanks for that. Obviously, you can check Rob out from rpphotographybydesign.co.uk. I'll share the links with you. Got some other things to share with you from Rob later on today. But the key thing now, before I give you the screen, Rob, is we do want everybody to interact with us tonight. So any questions for Rob or for Ali for Fundy, please pop those through the question panel. Rob, I'm going to give you the screen, mate. So it's coming over, and I'll let you know that we can see it clearly. We're hearing you loud and clear, so it's coming over to you now, pal.
Okay, I will take the screen. You should see the Art of Wedding Photography, the slide.
So I'm going to go quiet, mate. I'll just interrupt with questions. Please don't hesitate to prompt me if you know that you've come to a natural point. Just check for questions with me, and we'll get going. Guys, we've got a full-on presentation, so it's we're probably going to run to 8 o'clock, but we'll always stay online and answer your questions for you. So please bear that in mind. Rob, it's all yours, pal.
Okay, so I'm going to put it into 3 segments. We're definitely going to talk about pricing first, and I'm going to show you my document that I made on how to price your sales. I'm going to offer this up for free as well, and I'll get Jay to email out the discount code to get this. I do sell it on my site at the moment at £15, but for everyone attending, they're going to get it for free. So let's start with the first slide. So obviously today it's the Photography Academy, and in conjunction with Fundy Designer, a little intro about me. Okay, so that's just a little bit about myself. So the topics we're going to cover today, how to price yourself and your business, so how to get started. And I've seen a lot of people, how they do this, and they're doing it the wrong way. So I hope that can shed some light on the proper way to do it. We'll talk about the power of print and how it can benefit you, giving yourself some free advertisement. So you should use printing for free advertisement instead of paying all those costly AdWords for Google. And then we'll also look at album design, the software to use, and my approach to it as well. So pricing, we're going to keep going in and out of this presentation because I'm going to show you my computer screen in a minute so we can have a look and start the pricing scenario. An average wedding. So most people don't actually understand how to price themselves, but they need to understand what is involved in a wedding. Well, the total time spent on one wedding is between 22 and 32 hours. You've got to take into consideration your inquiry, your emails, the phone conversations, getting started, the pre-planning, the day begins, the ceremony, obviously the group shots, the candid shots, going through the wedding day itself. Then there's also the backing up, the culling, the post-production, the album design, presenting all the options to the clients, adjusting the revisions of the album, and then also the delivering the actual album and the images to your client. So it's a lot to take in, and it's a lot to do as well. So people who are just starting out, maybe it's a part-time thing, they're doing it on a weekend and they do a wedding, they'll cover it on the day and they think, brilliant, you know, I sold that wedding for £500. I've made £500, but in theory, if you was then to take out maybe the prints they've supplied and this album that they've given the couple as well, put that into an hourly rate, they probably earn £1.20 an hour. And we don't want that. We want to be earning something in the region of about £45 an hour. So I work on an hourly rate when it comes to weddings. So my pricing is based on 22 hours total for my basic package. And when I say my basic package, this doesn't include an album. It doesn't include prints. There's no USB with it. This is for my time at a wedding. So one wedding is equal to 5 days work for me. And if you was to put that into an hourly rate, I charge £145 for the first hour. The reason I do that is because that extra £100, that's to cover my travel costs to and from a wedding. Remember, fuel costs money, the wear and tear on your car, it costs money. So we need to account for that. Then my hourly rate is £45 an hour, and I average that on 21 hours. And I'm going to show you how I came to that figure. So this gives me a package price of £1,100, and that is just for me to come to your wedding to capture up your wedding. Okay, so we're going to do a demonstration now, and this is sort of my wedding profit calculator. I'm going to go through the full steps of how we work it out to get to our hourly rate. So let's just come out of this slideshow a minute, and then I'm going to come to this. This is the calculator, so it's a document, and in the background there's quite an extensive algorithm that works everything out for you. So we put on the side here. My web search turns something. When you download it, I put it on the side, all the information to outline what you need to put in and how you need to put in. But the first thing we're going to do, you're going to research in your area what photographers are doing their packages for. But the important thing is not to just copy their pricing, because we need to create a pricing bracket that's for you, for your own sort of living accommodation, you know, your gas, your electric, your outgoings. You need to know your outgoings to create your wedding packages, because remember, you want to turn this into a business and it's got to pay. So let's put in here, on average, if you was to have, say, me, an album, an engagement shoot, and a USB box, that would be 1,820. So 1,820. So we'll put in that. Now, on average, I'm going to say you need to do a minimum of 32 weddings a year. Anything under 32, you're not going to be a full-time wedding photographer. Just 15 weddings a year is not going to cut it. We need 32. Now, this is the total revenue that we're going to earn from this figure, but we need to now implement the cost of our albums, our travel, our advertising, our budgets, our sundries, and then all of our phones. So I've made it really easy for everyone to work this out. So I'm going to do a couple of hypothetical pricing because I don't want to let everyone into all my outgoing costs. So we'll be hypothetical on quite a lot of this. So say an album, we'll put in here, an album say costs you £250 per wedding. So this green here, this is going to be in this first box, this is per wedding. So costs that are only occurred when shooting a wedding. So this one's per wedding. So say an album, £250. Then we're going to say post, because everyone charges post nowadays. We don't like to do things for free. So we'll say £10 for post. And then when it comes to travel, I'm talking about you traveling to a wedding. So on average, I use half a tank of fuel. So I'm going to put in £15 for my fuel, and that covers the fuel to and from. Now, advertising costs. I know what my advertising cost is. So 2860. So that's my yearly. See how it says total here? This is my yearly cost. But what it does is it averages it out to how much per wedding. So we're doing 38 to 32 weddings, and on average it's costing us £89 for advertising to pull that wedding in. So when we come down to the next one, assistance, I'm quite lucky with assistance because it's actually my wife that I use, so I don't pay her. She probably actually wants a wage, so I should probably change that, but I don't pay her, so that's free for me. I don't use it for all the weddings. I only use them for when the weddings are 200 guests and over. Anything under 200 guests, then I can handle that myself, and I don't need to use it. Batteries and sundries, we own them. Let's not put them in because we're going to put those into a different category. We don't buy batteries for every single wedding, and it's free to charge them up because that's going to be into our electricity bill. So lunch, well, I put in my contracts that they have to supply me with lunch. Sometimes we're at locations where there isn't a shop to go to, or they brought caterers in and they've catered for a specific amount of guests. So we can't go into a bar and we can't buy a burger and chips. So that's why in all my contracts, it states that they have to supply me with one meal and one drink on the day. But just there is that small minority that you do have to buy your own lunch. So we will put in a budget of £15, and that can also be for, water on the day or any drinks that you need on the day. So that brings me to a total outgoing of £379 for a wedding, which sounds pretty good. But we need to now, and this is what everyone forgets, it isn't just these items here. We've also got these bills here. So these are fixed costs that are incurred no matter how busy you are, okay? So these are kind of a yearly cost that we'll look on. So a phone bill, I know what my phone bill is every year, and I'm talking about a mobile phone bill here. So 642, we'll put in there, 642. And we will now say broadband. I leave broadband blank because I basically put everything into the premises here. So electric, the broadband, gas, everything like that, I'll put into premises. Now, the reason I do it like this, I'm quite lucky. So I own the property. I don't have any outgoings on the property. So I own the property, and we have a purpose-built studio on our property. So because I do this, I then rent the premises to the business. So because I rent it, I set a figure of the business pays 30% of my household bills. So my gas, my electric, it pays 30% of it because obviously it's using the electric that's coming from the main house. And this is how you do it when you self-employ. You're allowed to charge 30% of your household bills. So we'll leave the first one blank. Then we're going to go to stationery. You need to give yourself a budget for stationery because you're going to have business cards, you're going to need paper to send out quotes. So I'm going to allocate £500 a year for stationery. So then after stationery, we've got insurance. Everyone needs insurance. You need public liability and indemnity insurance. This is an absolute must. A lot of venues now, they won't let the photographer even on their premises if they haven't got insurance. So, and also it's going to back you up. If anything happens, it's backing you up. So golden rule, get insurance. Insurance isn't that much. So I'm just going to put in £239 for insurance. Now, accountancy, I know what my accountancy is, so I will put that in, 1320. That's for my end of year accountants, and they also cover my sort of monthly accountants as well, where I can contact them. If I've got any problems, then they'll go through that at the moment. Normally for accountancy, end of year, you should be paying around about £500. But if it's a 12 months accountancy where you can contact them throughout the year, then you'll be looking at spending roughly about £1,300 on your accountants. Legal costs, I hope we never have to use legal costs. So let's just jump that. Legal costs are for if, say, someone's not paid you, and maybe you've got to take them to court to get the money or anything like that. But let's kind of stay away from that. We don't need to do that one. So annual equipment spend. So I'm going to put £2,000 in there because I like to spend on equipment. So I'm quite lucky with cameras and everything like that. Obviously, I'm a Sony ambassador, so I get those subsidised. So my figure, I think, is quite low. But you still need everything in there. Even though you bought your camera, you bought all your things, something happens, maybe a speed light breaks or something like that. So you've got to set yourself a budget for if anything happens. Remember, think about worst case scenarios. Okay, IT and software. And again, for this, I'm going to say £1,000. And again, laptops, they break, they don't last forever. So these two figures you could actually combine into one. So if I needed, say, a new screen, but I'd use that budget, I could actually pinch the budget from here. And then website hosting, everyone's going to have to pay this. So for me, it is £370. That's what I pay because I actually own the servers. It's a lot cheaper for me, so it's only the upkeep of the servers. So next we've got, unfortunately, banks like to take money off us, and my bank fees will be £200. And that is when you have a business bank, the bank charges you to put cash into the bank, and the bank charges you to pay checks into the bank. It also charges you for direct debits that you have on your business account. So remember that. There's a small fee every month, and it's only probably about £5 per transaction. So if you went into the bank and you paid in say £100 in cash and then 3 checks, well, you would only get 1 fee for all of that. So that's why you don't pay in your checks one by one. You tend to just do all your banking weekly on a certain day where you would take all your money to the bank. Myself, I try and get everyone to do bank transfers to save me having the fees, because we don't get fees on bank transfers. Then sample albums. We need sample albums. Again, let's allocate a cost. I'm just going to put £250 because let's say you're an established wedding photographer. You're not going to buy sort of 4 or 5 sample albums every year. You're only going to add 1 to it each year. So that's what I do. I just add a new sample album each year. So I allocate myself £250 for that. Premises. So this is what I rent my studio to myself for, if that makes sense. So this is 3432. Okay, so this is a yearly figure. So I basically charge RP photography, £280 a month, and that's to cover the 30% charge on the gas and electric that it uses that's attached to the house. Okay, so permanent staff. I'm going to keep this figure as a hypothetical one because I'm not going to tell you all what I pay staff. So we're just going to go 9360 for this one. So that is permanent staff would be yourself. So I'm a limited company. The difference from a limited company is the business owns all the money and all the equipment. So everything goes into the bank, and as a director, you would set yourself a wage each month, which would say it's £600 a month. That's what you get. So you would set yourself underneath the sort of the tax threshold, which is quite legal to do. But then you pay yourself a dividend every year, and the dividend is a percentage of the profit that your limited company makes. If you're a sole trader, then it works different. This figure here, you would leave blank, because as a sole trader, you own all the equipment yourself and you have all the money going to your own account, but then you have to pay the tax man VAT on the whole amount at the end of the year. So it works a little bit different. So this is the first section that's filled in. Now, I would advise you as well, if you are setting out, it is better to be a limited company. You can actually claim a lot more things through your business being a limited company than you can being a sole trader. And it doesn't cost any extra to be a limited company. Right, so at the moment, we've got net profit of 26,000. Net profit for weddings is £837. That's what we're making on each wedding. But we need to add a couple of more things in here as well. So down at the bottom here, we've got some tabs and we see time. Okay, so let's move over to time. And now we've got to fill in the time scenarios. Let me move to my notes so we're on the right page. Okay, so for time, this is what I'm telling you, that it is so important to sit down and work out how many hours you spend on an actual wedding. So let's go through this. So ignore the top one. So I don't do wedding fairs. I personally, they don't work for me. I think they're a waste of time, and I don't want to stand in a room that's full of photographers and you're bidding against each other for 8 hours. So that's not what it's about. For me, weddings are fun. I love being at weddings. So my biggest form of advertisement is actually my wedding couples. So 90% of my work comes from referrals. Okay, so initial sales meeting and traveling. So I normally spend 40 minutes with them. So that's 0.4. So my initial consultation would be 40 minutes long. The pre-wedding shoot and travel. So I'm going to just put an hour in there. So I normally spend an hour with the couple on a pre-wedding shoot. Editing that, I'm quite fast at editing, but I will put myself down for 40 minutes because I'm probably going to be watching a movie as an editing as well. So normally to do 60 images from a pre-wedding shoot would only take me about 20 minutes to do. I'd fly through them. But if I've got a movie on, then I'm probably going to be around about 40 minutes to an hour. So we'll put 40 minutes, we'll be generous with that. The clients coming to view their images, I'm going to put an hour down. So we've allocated some time already. Okay, so venue initial. So I never pre-look at the venue. Again, it's another little thing of mine. If you go and scout out a venue and you're looking around it on that day, it could be a beautiful sunny day and you've worked out all the places where to do your photos and your shoot. On the day of the wedding, it could be overcast, it could be dull, or it could be raining. Your plans are all to pot. You'll be a bit disheartened because you found these lovely spots where the light was gorgeous. And you'll be sort of looking at the wedding in a different way on the actual day of the wedding. So for me, I'm more excited turning up to a wedding where I've never seen the venue before. I literally turn up an hour before, go around the venue, pick my spots that I'm going to shoot at, and then I'm really excited. I'm booming. I just want to get the couples there, and I want to get the photography started. So planning the day, again, phone calls, etc. Maybe I'm sitting down and I'm just on the internet, and I'm looking at the venue on the internet, seeing what they've got to offer, seeing what the grounds are like. So I'll spend some time doing that. So let's put in 0.4 there. And then wedding shoot including travel. So this is the big one. Let's say 10 hours. That's the average you'll be at a wedding for. And I'll show you my pricing at the moment. So obviously, if we flick over to this here, we've got my wedding pricing. I break things down into hours. So this is 5 hours. That's 10 hours. That's 12 hours. That's just for me. If they wanted to add on an engagement shoot, then that's the price. Post-wedding, additional hours are there. And then if they want albums, they come down to here, parent albums, and if they want a USB. So all mine are a la carte. So this is purely on time alone. Right, so 10 hours, average wedding, we're going to start there. Then let's go to, we finished the wedding, we've got back. If you're going to back up your images, that's time. We need to allocate some time for that. So let's pop that in. The next day, we might do our image selection. So we're going to spend probably about 2 hours doing your image selection. Initial edits. So this is sitting down and doing your edits. And I'm going to be generous here. I'm going to give 6 hours. So I think 6 hours to edit a wedding is absolutely plenty. I could probably do a wedding in an hour if I want to be fast. So my weddings, I only shoot 400 images. They'll get 350 and I'll shoot about 400 images. Okay, so wedding viewing and travel. So this is obviously, again, going seeing the couples, or they may come to you, but we need to allocate it in case we have to go to them. So let's go for 40 minutes again, viewing. I think sitting with people for 40 minutes, an hour, going through the images, get some upsells, that's going to be plenty. Final edit of chosen images. Maybe there's a couple of images there that you need to go over. Maybe they're going to be for some wall art, or maybe they're going in the album. So let's just allocate a little bit of extra time in for that. Album design as well, we can't forget about that. You're going to spend about 2 hours on an album design. And now Fundy Designer, the software it uses, it really speeds up the process. You can actually design an album in seconds with its auto design. So, but the time is not how fast it designs it. That time you're allocating is to you to actually pick the images that you're going to use in the album. That is one of the hardest things to do, is to really nail it down to something like 60 images that you're actually going to use in the album. I love all my images and I want them all in the album, but we can't put 350 pictures in an album. So then we're going to go for amendments. So let's stick an hour in there for amendments. So look at this now we're getting somewhere, because at the bottom you see this total per wedding. So we're going to spend 26 hours on one wedding annually, based on 8 hours. So, and then look, we're average 5 hours, 5 days spent on one wedding. So these two figures here, these are the ones that we need to look at. So one wedding, we're going to spend an average of 26 hours, and one wedding will take us around about 5 days. So how hourly rate at the moment is £32.20. That's going to change, okay?
Rob, can I just jump in a second, mate?
The next one.
Can I just interrupt a second, Rob?
This is upsells. Yes.
Sorry, mate, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Rob, just back on the time bit, and it came through a
Yeah,
couple of times, so I thought we'd just want to clarify quickly. Obviously, where you said like 0.04 is 40 minutes,
yeah,
in an hour, is that the way that your spreadsheet is set up? Because no, that would be more like 0.67, wouldn't it? 40 minutes of an hour.
yeah. So point four is 40 minutes. So that's how it's set up. Because the algorithm in the back of it is so complex. Point three would be half an hour. Point four is 40 minutes, and then one is an hour. So
Perfect. Just wanted to good. I just wanted to clarify that because I thought that's what it was, but obviously a few people picked up on it, so thought we'd
yeah,
just get
because
that.
if you change that anymore, it starts going on to the 15 minutes, and really you should be charging by the 30 minutes. So
I thought it was the
uh,
algorithm, but we just a good point to make that clear here. Obviously that it isn't done in minutes or hours and that. Thanks, mate. Back to you.
no problem. Okay, so upsells. Upsells are brilliant because that's where we will make our extra money. And so let me go to my notes on the upsells. So again, I'm going to just make this wider so you can see everything that's coming along here. That should fit it all in. So upsells, estimate the average revenue earned per pre-wedding. Okay, so this is just each wedding. Well, I pretty much sell every wedding an engagement shoot. So let's just stick £125 in there. Average profit, so guesstimate, so estimate the profit you will make from this revenue. Again, let's just say, take into account a bit of fuel here and there. Maybe you've bought a coffee or something like that. So that's going to come out of that £120. So let's say out of that, £80 is profit. This is the only guesstimate you've got to do. Everything else is all worked out for you. Okay, so there you can see what we're going to make. We'll come down to here. So wedding albums. Again, wedding albums, price per additional image. So I sell extra images. I include a certain amount of images into an album. I'll basically say this is a comfortable amount of images to fit in. Now, I don't sell them extra spreads. Instead, I sell them extra images. So if we look at this, this is a price you can charge per image. I charge £10 per extra image. So let me just put £10 in there as well. And on to the next one. Average number of images upgraded by the total revenue. So what this is saying is, how many images do you on average put into an album that's extra? Well, I would actually say I'd probably put in an extra 5 images. Okay, so that's worked all that out for you. Right, so on to the next one. Additional items. Okay, print sales and revenue, family and friends, everything like that. Well, this is kind of a hard one to do. I do a lot of sales through the SmugMug site, where they host the gallery and they can order prints directly from Loxley Colour in there. And plus then there's the prints that I've actually printed myself when I print A3 prints, and the couple come along to view their images, and I kind of sell them a sneaky print there. So I'm going to put here £100, because that's what I probably do on each wedding. I probably sell £100 worth of just digital downloads, I'm going to call them. Okay, and that's given me an average profit there. High-res CDs. I should change this to USBs really, because no one really uses CDs. So high-res CDs. This is talking about the percentage of clients that buy a CD or a USB. So in my package, to buy a USB is actually, it's extra, and near enough every couple buys an extra one for mum and dad as well. So in here, I'm going to put the price of that. So they're £195 for an extra USB. And I'm going to say that 20% of my clients actually buy an extra USB for mum and dad. Okay, so that gives me the profit there. It's worked it all out. So now it says the total net profit from upsells is 9,480 a year. Okay, everyone seeing that? Okay. Now the final pointers. Here we go. This is now a business. So what it does now, we'll go back to here. It actually looks at all of these figures we've put in. It calculates the time we're working on a wedding. It calculates what our upsales are. And it gives us our final business. So our final business is we make a year a total profit of 36,195, and it says our hourly rate is £44. It says our profit per wedding is £1,131. So this figure here has come from this figure here. So this is what we need to charge for our weddings. And if we charge this for our weddings, and if we target ourselves to get 32 weddings a year, then we will make a total profit after paying all our bills, our phone bills, our rent, our wages. We'll make a total profit of £36,000. Okay, that's from pre-upsales profit is 26, and then upsales is 9,400. So this is weddings, that's upsales. That's what we make, and this is now our hourly rate. All I do is, it says there 44, I just like to round it up because I like round figures, so I'll say £45 an hour. So there you go. That is how I've calculated my hourly fee, and that is how I price my weddings. Have we got any more questions coming in there, Jay?
Just a couple, mate, but I think I've answered them. But one of the things that just came up when we just touched on the USBs and that, and obviously saying how does it work if they just opt to buy the USB? Just to be clear, Rob, the USB is only available once they've bought your initial package of your time and an album, right?
That's right. So you see, if we go back to my pricing here, say they pick this one, 1,100. That's for 10 hours. That is literally just me at a wedding. And then say they pick an engagement shoot, and say they go, oh yes, we want a USB as well, so they pick this in. That is all in this price here, because if you add 195, 125 for an engagement shoot, if you add an album at 132, and then my price, that works out at 1,820. So that's obviously including this. And then if they do an upsell, because remember in this section, this is upsells. So this section here, this high-res CD, which should be actually called USB, I will change that when everyone gets this form. It will say USB. This here is if you sell an extra USB to mum and dad. Okay. So that's why here, total profit from CD sales, sorry, here, what percentage of your clients buy a CD? So you see this 20%? That is saying that 20% of my customers will buy an additional USB to give to mum and dad. Because the USB comes in a lovely wooden box, and it comes with 30 prints, 6x4 prints in it, and a USB. So it's not just a USB on its own, they actually get 30 prints. So quite a few customers will actually buy that as a thank you gift to mum and dad as well. So that's why it's on a separate column here, £195, and 20% of my customers actually buy that for mum and dad, which makes me a bit more of a profit each year, and then that goes towards my final hourly rate. So obviously I do push it when I'm talking to my clients. I mention about giving mum and dad a USB as a nice thank you gift. So you've got to mention it to sell yourself. Does that answer that question?
It does, mate, but it's sparked a few new ones. So let's just make sure we answer them because obviously, initially, really, we are talking about the power of print. So the key thing really is, these are upsales, but obviously you do sell the USB package. Just to be clear, these aren't low res images. If they're paying for it, they're getting the images right. They're not watermarked or anything like that.
No, they're not watermarked. No, they get the images. You shouldn't watermark your images. Really, they've paid for them. I know people are very big on watermarking and rights, but they paid you to cover their wedding. So in theory, those images are the clients, and I'm happy for them to have them and do what they wish with their images once they paid for them.
And obviously, just to clarify, obviously we've based this on the sort of package that you've come up with, but of course this isn't in gold. Obviously, we're talking about albums, we're talking about USBs. Some companies, yeah, you've already said, offers prints. You've said you've done that yourself through SmugMug. So you just come up with what your package includes and what you're going to sell as an upsell, right? This isn't gold, and this is just what you've decided to do in your business.
Yeah, so this is actually based on my site and on my prices. So if people have this, they just need to put in their figures and it will calculate everything. Some people will be shocked because when they get to here, if they put in their wedding pricing figures and all their outgoings and incomings, they might see this figure saying £18. But that's what they're earning at the price that they're selling their wedding package at. They may say this figure might be £56. Well, then they're quids in and they're making a big profit.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we're still on it, because you've opened up a massive can of worms, mate, the USB and the nice boxes, who do you prefer as a supplier?
Wooden Banana. So they all come from Wooden Banana. Which can I just quickly show you suppliers without my glasses on? I can't find it, but I will.
No, Rob, we're going to run out of time, mate, but we've told them what they need. They can go and find out that
Yeah, so it's called Wooden Banana. So right, I'm going to crack on. So I just need to go back to this now and let's load up this. How are we doing for time?
Yeah, we're a quarter to 8, mate.
I told you I taught for England. So there you go. Price yourself right. Once you get the code, head over to my site and you can download that for free. It's normally £15, but you must price yourself right. I'm going to speed through now the power of print. Okay. Right. So the power of print. How can it benefit you? Well, I'm just going to go through some images and we'll get to a little segment here. So upsells. I print a selection of A3 prints for when the couple comes around. So how this works is I've done the wedding. The couples are coming around to view their images. I make a slideshow and I'll sit down with them and then they'll go through all their images. But I think ahead, I'm quite lucky because here in the studio, I've got an A3 printer and I would recommend anyone to buy an A3 printer. They're not that expensive and I will go through the pricing of them shortly. I normally pick about 3 images, one of each of them. So one just of the bride, one just of the groom, and then one of the bride and groom together. And I will print them out right here in the studio. It costs me pence to do. Probably, I think it works out about £1.25 an image. If you take into account the A3 print, the ink that you're using as well, it's nothing. Even if I don't use them, then I actually stick the A3 prints into a portfolio book. So when I'm walking around to other clients to go and meet them, I've actually got some extra prints to show other wedding couples. But to be honest with you, I never get to keep them because the couples see that print there and then in their hand. They absolutely love it and they just want to take it away with them. Well, I just turn around to them and I go, hey, I'll sell you that print and you can take it away with you today. So it's going to be X amount, and 99% of the time they'll buy the print there and then. I've just made another upsale without doing anything because the couples were coming around anyway. hopefully I haven't got my wedding couples listening onto this presentation and find out all my tricks. So that is probably one of the first upsells you're going to do. So as soon as they walk in the door, have your prints on display, have your wedding albums on display. The prints that you've got of them, put them on display so they can see them. You're going to get so many sales by just doing that. It's untrue. Again, I displayed the USB box with 30 prints in there as a sample one that I have. Some couples will do the upsell of the USB box after the wedding, so they'll decide that yes, they've got some money left over from their wedding and they'll want to push that forward, and they'll buy the USB box. Remember, even though it's a USB box, it comes with 30 prints. Now, if you do buy your USB box with Wood and Banana, they also do a delivery service where when you're ready to send your box out, you don't even need it to come to you. You upload the image, and Wood and Banana actually prints the 30 prints to go into the box. They dress it all and they'll send it out for you. So it's a very personal service, and it's a beautiful way of the couple getting their USB, because at the end of the day, as soon as they open it, they have 30 prints there to use and put in frames as well. So I tend to think USBs are lost, because once the images are on the computer and Facebook, then that's it, they're gone, and we don't tend to look back on them. If it's a print, we've got it in our hand, it's in a frame, we'll look at them more. People look at them who come to the homes. Offer them a beer and a glass of wine to relax them. I just like to relax them and get them in the mood and feel more comfortable and more of a friend instead of a salesman. I want to be more of a friend than a salesman. I don't want to come across as a salesman.
We thought you were offering them a beer, Rob.
Yes, I always offer them a beer.
No, not the bear, the big furry kind like me.
Oh, right. I should get a Wookiee in, shouldn't I? You know?
Have you not seen that you spelt it wrong?
I have, yeah. I was hoping no one would notice that I did that. So
next time I'm around, I want a bear, not a glass of wine, mate. All right.
Well, that's the thing. You see, if they don't do any upsells, then I do get the bear in. So,
mate, sorry, I had to interrupt.
No, that's not a problem. So upsell. So we can use prints in another way. And again, if you see spelling mistakes, now you're looking that hard, just ignore them, okay? So free advertisements. Free advertisements. So there's two things that I also do. Remember, we've also been at a venue. We've shot at a venue. We've covered the wedding at a venue. So what I always do, the first thing when I get to venues, I do product shots all over, the outside, the inside. I look around and I look at their art on the wall and their prints on the wall. And if you look at the venues, the majority of the prints are locally. They're from sort of like the local town or the local villages, or actually of the outside of their premises. So look at the website, you'll probably find that it's a bit outdated, the images are old. So again, I'll cover all of the shots of the venue. I'll contact the venue afterwards, and I will offer the venue a free album. I'll say, if I give you an album of a wedding that's shot at your venue, will you show it to the customers? And if I give you this album for free, let's do a little bit of exchange. Why don't you put me on your preferred suppliers list, and I'll give you the album. Now, they will jump at the chance because it's content for them to show their customers. One of the things that venues struggle with is content to show their customers, because once we're done, the photographer, we go away from that venue and them images are ours. The wedding's over. So for us to offer the venue a small album, and don't forget, put your branding on the front and the back and your contact details. So when their customers are looking at these images, they'll see your contact details and they'll contact you. They will literally do an email inquiry, and it'll all be from that album that you have displayed at that venue. Another way that I do it is I'll offer, maybe you don't want to go to the cost of giving an album to the venue. If it's a stately home, if it's a big home, do the album. The album will get used more. It'll always be on display in sort of like the boardroom or something like that. If it's a smaller location, then offer them wall art. Again, A3 prints, we can print them at home. They don't cost that much to print at the lab. Offer them prints, but you don't frame it. Now say to them that you'll supply the print, but it's up to the venue to frame it, because framing is quite personal, and the venue will probably have a specific frame that they like to put their images in. And again, say to them, if I supply you with 3 to 4 A3 prints, in exchange, you put me on your preferred suppliers list. Now that preferred suppliers list, it actually goes to every single wedding inquiry that venue gets, okay? So a lot of venues, probably, in fact, all venues charge to go on a preferred suppliers list. I don't believe in paying to be on that list, because you're kind of paying for work, as where if your art, if your images are all over that venue, then the couple going there, they're going to see that. And I always put on the wall art, I'll put my website in small letters at the bottom left-hand corner. So if the couples are walking around, if they see that, they don't even need to ask the venue, they can see who it's from, and then they can contact me. So free advertisement from creating prints, and we all want free advertisements. So invest in your business. Remember, it is a business. You want to work for yourself. You don't want to be a photographer that only works on a Saturday and Sunday, and you've got to go to your daytime job Monday to Friday, because in theory you're working 7 days a week. We don't want that. You know, we want to have a life. We want to spend time with our family. We want to go on holiday. We want to live longer lives. So invest in your business. And I would say, for the first 12 months, if you're doing it part-time, all the money that you're making, invest back into your business. Buy an A3 printer. The average cost of an A3 printer is about £300 to £500, and it will pay for itself in time. To be able to print out there and then and sell those prints to the couple, you're going to be a winner. And especially if you can take these prints to all your local stately homes, and have your images displayed there as well. Bigger than an A3, then I would definitely say purchase from a lab. The important thing to do with labs is build a relationship with your labs. I mean, you've got people like Locksley Colour and One Vision and Photo Speed. It's really important to build a relationship with them. So if you need that image printing at a last minute and you need it next day, then if you've got a good relationship with a printing lab, they'll do that. And also, if you communicate with them, you won't pay the prices that are displayed on their website. You'll end up with an account manager who actually talks with you, and you create a pricing bracket that works for you, that works for them, and works for your customers. How are we doing, Jay, on time?
That's 5 to 8. How much more have you got me?
I can do another day if you want.
Well, I'm sure they take it. Well, we're obviously going to run over a bit, guys, so obviously please stay with us. There's loads more. There's lots of good information. Rob, let me just ask you a couple of quick questions.
Yes. The
A3 printer, can you recommend one? What do you use?
Yeah, so my A3 printer, I use the Canon Pro 10. It is a fantastic printer. It's been going strong now for years. You still buy the current model, and the main thing is that the ink lasts forever. So that's the most important thing. When you're buying printers, ink can cost a lot of money. Well, the Canon Pro 10, the ink's really reasonable. It actually prints up to A3 plus, so because it works in A3, and then the biggest one is A3 plus, and it'll print A3 plus as well. And again, very reasonable. You'll be able to pick it up on those prices that I just quoted you above. Or if you head over to my guys at PhotoSpeed, I'm sure if you mention all of us, that they will probably sort you out a deal there, because they sell them over at PhotoSpeed as well.
Well, and just quickly, mate, you know, what are you sort of charging for the A3 print?
The A3 print, so it cost me £1.25, and I sell them for £25 each, and that is ridiculously cheap. I mean, an A3 print you should be selling for about £55.
Brilliant, mate. I'll leave you crack on, and I'll keep the rest of the questions.
Cool, no worries. Right, so promote yourself by social, web, and word of mouth. Again, this is all free promotion. I don't believe in paying to promote yourself, because there's so many platforms out there, and there's so many ways to actually advertise yourself for free. Print is the biggest one. Get yourself some prints of the local towns printed off. Go to the venues and offer them to the venues for free. All you say to the venues is that you want to be on their preferred suppliers list, and if they can display your website at the bottom of the print. So do your research and get those prints hung up in those venues. Most important thing as well when it comes to wedding photography is keep the same look and feel of the images you create, because remember, that is your brand as well. It starts from the wedding, and it carries all the way through to the edit. So my feel to my vision, my style, it's very browns, yellows. That's what's always pulled out of my images. That's just the way I edit. But there's a reason that you've got to take this. So looking at a website, you can see there all the browns and all the yellows are coming through. Just for people as well, obviously my website is built on WordPress. I think WordPress is the best format to use. My theme is through Flow Themes. They actually sell themes that are dedicated for wedding photographers. And then my branding, my logo is, I had specifically designed. There's a reason for the design. So this comes to prints as well. So every time I send a stationery pack out to my couples, and don't always use email. You know, everyone communicates by email, and it's lost in there. You want to send an information pack out, and the information pack wants to have a quote in there, and it wants to have some of your images in there. So I always include this here on the right hand side. That is a postcard. It's a 4x6 postcard. It's got an image on, and it's in the pack, and on the reverse of it there's another image. So when they pull it out, they're already seeing images from me. I want my pack, my info pack, to blow them away. So when they get other people's quotes, that's just a letter and a quote, they pick mine up all the time going, wow, this guy sent me you know, these stunning images, I love them. This is a trifold, this one on the left hand side. Most important thing, I'm going to go back to this, when you do have things printed, do not put your pricing on any of it, because if you change your pricing each year, which you will do because of inflation, then all this money that you spent on all this branding and all the leaflets, if you don't use any of them in the year, then you have to throw them all in the bin if you put pricing on there. So don't put any pricing on. Your pricing is done on your quote on your A4 paper that you've printed off. Business cards. Again, when it comes to business cards, I have square business cards, and the reason for this is if people have picked a load of business cards up off wedding photographers, normally the normally business cards are half the size of a square one. So if you've got mine in your stack of business cards, mine sticks up higher than everyone else's. So therefore, which card are they going to pull out the pack? It's going to be mine because it sticks up higher than everyone else's. So it's a bit of a subliminal card. It makes you pick that up first. I'm going to jump past that one because we've not got time to watch a little movie. Album design, we made it. So we're near the end. So I was going to do a demo, but instead we'll keep to the slideshow because I don't think we're going to have time for a demo because we're already running over. So in the UK, I use Folio albums, and in the US, I use Theneo albums. So both spelt with an F, very easy to remember. Both do very different albums, and they're both within the Fundy Designer software. So you can actually order the albums from the suppliers directly in the Fundy software. So when you are doing spreads, so this is kind of a simple spread from an album. When I'm shooting, I always shoot for albums. So if I'm doing a scenario like this one on the day, I think to myself, do you know what, I'm going to have a portrait one on the left-hand side, and then they'll be looking at each other. But on the right-hand side, I want them looking towards me, the camera. And this way, it takes up a full spread in the album. I'm only using 2 images for a full spread, which is brilliant. But think outside the box. They may not want an image like this. So just take one that's slightly different, which I have done here. And this is just them into the corner, but they're looking at each other, and it takes up a different look totally. Now, they actually ended up going for this one in the album, but I put the previous one in. So I always give them a choice. So remember that on the day when you are shooting, don't just take that 2 images and think, yeah, okay, brilliant, that's going to work in the album. Just think outside the box a little bit. This is a favourite of mine. So in the album, when it comes to shooting the bouquet, I see it all the time. People put them down on the floor, they put them on benches, they take pictures of them, and they'll do one picture, and it goes in the album, and then they've got one picture of the bouquet, and then a load of other things. Well, again, think outside the box. I always do a segment of 3 images for my bouquet. I'll get the bride. I start telling, I'm a bit wacky at weddings. I like having a dance on the dance floor. I like having a joke about. And I got the bride. She was in stitches here and she was laughing away. So I shot a picture of the bouquet while she was laughing. I asked her to hold the bouquet up towards me, and I took a picture. And then I did a really close up of the roses and everything as well. And I knew I was going to put this into the album, taking a full spread like this. The main thing for this is when I do a full spread, and just in case anyone does ask, Jay, no, the images don't have my logo on in the album. So they're only all on here because they're just sample images for doing presentations. But in the albums and all the images that all my customers get, none of them have my logos on any of the images. So yeah, so I know this is going to take up a full spread, and because of how it works, they'll never delete any of these images, and they'll never take any of them out because all 3 work together. So you're guaranteed that a spread's going to stay in the album. I kind of put this one in as an extra spread, so I can get an upsell and they put an extra spread into the album. So comes to the actual software itself. So Fundy Designer, this is a very simple way of how to design an album. This is what it looks like. So here we've got an album that's been brought in. This is a spread. Down on the bottom, this is our images that we've got imported in. Now this little number here where it says 1111, that is telling us how many times this image has been used in an album, because when you've got a lot of images down there that you've picked and you're designing quite a heavily imaged album, you might go to say this image and think, oh, it's going to work on 1 page, but it might have 3 there. So if it's got 3 there, you've actually used it 3 times in this one album. Okay. Okay, so this is kind of how an album will look. So this is its layouts. You can actually pick from each different layout. So this is one set of images, but it's showing you different layouts that you can pick to insert into an album. So maybe this is on the auto design. So maybe I like this one, I can pick this and it'll go into the album. And then I might want this image dragged over to here. So you just simply do, let's go back. You simply just get hold of it, drag it over, it'll resize, and you can resize every drop zone as well. So I would definitely say you've got to head over to Fundy and download their software to give it a go. So albums, when I'm designing them, you can't just design them off the top of your head. You've got to have a flow to every album you do, and I do. I mean, a 20-page album with 60 images, this is what I work to. So literally the front page, boy shots, and this is the page number, okay? We're coming down here. So boy shot, bride details, getting ready, makeup, bride portraits, all the way through. So when I design an album, every album has the same flow to it. If you don't have a flow to work to, then your albums will look really messy, because you'll sit there, you'll look at the screen and you'll think, you know what? I just don't know where to start. Okay, so that's actually an old slide that I had in, so I've left it in. But obviously Fundy are amazing, and they've done a fantastic offer for you lot. So again, make sure you head over there. We'll skip that, and that is kind of the end of me talking. My slideshow. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, that's where to go to. Instagram is where I'm most active, so please feel free. How are we doing, Jay?
We're good, mate. Yeah, not too bad. You know, I was expecting, we've given them good value for money, mate. There's absolutely no fear with that. I've got a load of questions for you, so they're sticking with us, Rob. So but let me just quickly, Rob, this no pun intended, but take the screen back.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, they're not in any particular order, Rob. I'll just go down the list and we'll make sure we tick them off one by one. Yeah. I thought this was quite nice, and we might as well address it. Any particular reason why you switched from Olympus to Sony?
Yeah, so basically I've been with Olympus for 8 years, and it's just like anything. You get a bit tired of the same old. The menu had never changed. I was shooting with micro 4/3. A lot of my clients, I'm not talking about weddings now, I'm talking about my corporate clients, and especially when you work with agencies, they was requesting bigger file sizes. So when I was with the X Factor, a lot of my work went on billboards. When Tom Cruise was here for the launch of Oblivion, I was his photographer, and again, stuff went on billboards and in Hello magazine. And they was requesting huge file size, which with micro 4/3 I couldn't get to. I was literally upscaling my images in Photoshop all the time and then sending them on. And I decided that it was time to move that to full frame. I did a lot of research. I mean, I started with Sony many years ago, and for me, it made sense to go back to Sony because I wanted full frame, but I didn't want a big bulky DSLR camera, and the Sony A7 series are the same size as the Olympus EM1 Mark II. So for me, it was a better fit, and now I'm using a 42 megapixel full frame sensor. That's still the exact same size as what my micro 4/3 was. So yeah, so it was a business decision. It was a little bit personal, I would say, probably 10% personal, but it was more of a business decision than anything.
Brilliant, mate. Thanks, bud. Oh, this was interesting. Have you always offered an a la carte pricing system, or have you done packages in the past? have you sort of moved through the ranks to get where you are, mate? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I used to offer package pricing, but it literally up until last year, I was on package pricing. The majority of all my customers that contacted me in an inquiry was asking for a specific quote because they didn't want a certain item. Maybe they didn't want an engagement shoot, or maybe they did want an engagement shoot, or someone didn't want a USB, they only wanted a digital download. So what price would I do for that? And I was getting quite a lot of customers who got married abroad. They wanted me to be their photographer, but I couldn't do their wedding because I was already booked to do another wedding. So they was doing not weddings, but kind of like an after party when they was back here in the UK, where they still put their dress on and they invited all their family and friends round, and they had a blessing. I'm going to call them blessings. So again, it was very specific how they were priced. So that's why I decided to move away from having packages and do it as a la carte, where my base price is an hourly rate.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. I know we covered this right at the beginning. It was more to do with the price calculator, but the average edit time for the wedding, and does that include sort of the retouching side of it as well?
Yeah, so that includes retouching as well. So
was it about 6 hours? Did you say per wedding? Did I remember that rightly, or have I got that completely wrong?
That's right. I allocate 6 hours. So when you're doing a wedding, so remember you're there for 10 hours. You're not constantly shooting for 10 hours though. But the most important thing to be a wedding photographer, and please, I'm going to ask everyone, I'm just going to say, please don't overshoot. Don't come away from a wedding with 2,000 images. I would say don't even come away from a wedding with 1,000 images. If you're unsure, so I've been doing it a long time, I know what to cover, and I'll come away with 400 images. The maximum amount that you want to cover is 800. I mean, from 800 images, you should be culling that down to supply your customers with 400 images. Think of 400 images. Where would you put 400 images in your home? You just wouldn't. And you're there to tell a story, and 400 images should be able to tell the full story of the wedding from start to finish and how it unfolds.
Brilliant, brilliant. You mentioned obviously in in your presentation that a lot of your work is from clients, word of mouth, past referrals. Do you do things like on the wedding day? Do you have your business cards available for guests and things like that, or have you found that doesn't really work?
No, never hand out your business card at weddings. I think it's rude. So you've been employed to go to a place and to shoot that person's wedding. Your mind shouldn't be set on getting work from that wedding. If you're yourself, if you're bouncy, talk to people. Don't be the photographer that just stands in the corner and walks around the dance floor. Talk to people, get people laughing, be friendly, ask them about their jobs or what they do. They'll start talking to you, and by the end of it, they will ask the customer, your wedding customers, the bride and groom, for your details. I always say to everyone at a wedding, if they say, have you got a card, we'd love to have a chat. First thing I say is, I'm really sorry, I don't carry cards on me, but if you have a chat with the bride and groom once they're back off the honeymoon, I'm sure they'll pass on my details to you, and I'm sure they'd love to show you the images from the day. That's how I leave it with them. And like I say, 99% of the time, I average between 3 and 4 bookings per wedding when I come away.
Brilliant. Going back to the printer, the A3 printer, any recommendations on paper? Do you have a preferred paper that you print with, Rob?
I do actually. I'm just going to have a look. So it's Oyster.
It's what, mate? I didn't catch that. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's from Permajet, and it's premium ink media, and it is called Ultra Pearl 295. But on their website, it's actually called Oyster A3.
Great, thanks, mate.
You never want to print gloss paper. So if you print gloss, it's horrible on blacks. The blacks really absorb it and don't look very good. But oyster is kind of like a pearl finish, a pearlescent. So blacks and dark colours look beautiful on it. It's got like a metallic-y flex to it. So really good to use.
Brilliant, thanks, mate. Just to clarify then, when you proof the album to the clients before it goes to print?
Always, yeah. So again, I use Fundy. They have their own proofing system. It's brilliant. So you export out of the Fundy album designer, upload it to their proofer, put in the client's email, and Fundy takes care of everything. They'll send an email to the clients. The clients go on the proofer site. They can virtually turn the pages of the album, and then they can leave comments on each individual image to say that they want this one removed, or this one added in, or maybe this one made smaller or put down to the bottom. And then once the client's made all their alterations, they hit a button. I get notified of all the changes, make all the changes, and then I can reproof it to them. And it's important to use a software like that, because once the album's approved, the client has to press an approved button. So once you make the album and it's delivered to them, if there is any mistakes on the album and that client says, I didn't do that, then you can go back to that proofer site and you can actually say, unfortunately you did, because it's there and you've approved the spread. So I've only printed what you've approved. So if you don't do that, then you're going to end up billing out a full cost of another album. So always use a proofing site, because it's proof that your clients have agreed to send it to print.
Brilliant, mate. Favorite lenses for shooting a wedding?
I only use two, and it kind of blows people's mind. So you look at all my images, and I only take two lenses to a wedding. That is a 35 and an 85. So I use the 35 f1.2 FE mount for Sony, and then I use the 85 f1.4 G Master lens as well.
Well, I don't know if this is a question or a statement. When you were talking about the album itself, it's coming as 20 spreads, not pages? Question mark, I think. It's
20 pages, and that's 10 spreads. So 20 pages, 10 spreads.
Well, thanks, mate. Do you have a choice of flash that you use on a wedding day?
I do. So I hate to shout out names, but I'm the Photix ambassador, and I use their flashes. So the Photix Metros Plus. The reason I use them is because they're wireless. They've got 2.4 gigahertz built in. So I take 3 flashes with me to a wedding. So when I'm doing the dance scenes, I stick 2 flashes up in each corner that are zoomed into 70 millimeters, and they're set on 1/8 power. And on the top of the camera, I have the other flash, which controls the 2 other flashes. So I get a really nice, clean sort of backlit but front lit on the bride and groom image.
Brilliant, mate. We're getting there. Only a couple left now, bud.
Cool.
This is just a question to you, really. What percentage of your photography work is still weddings in comparison to what else you do?
Yeah, wow, that's a good question, actually. I would say wedding photography is still about 60% of my business. So the other 40% is portraits, and then training. Obviously, everyone knows that I do a lot of training up and down the country and across the seas, and that does take up a lot of time. So yeah, training and portraits is coming in third, but it's still 60% of my business is weddings.
Brilliant. I think you touched on this, but good advice for when starting your wedding business, because obviously word of mouth and referrals aren't there. So I think obviously you touched about getting in with the venues. Any other sort of good tips on there? Get going.
Get going. You want to create a portfolio. If you're starting from sort of scratch and you haven't got a wedding portfolio, people want to see images. So please, when I say this, please don't bombard my email inbox, because I have so many of them and everyone goes on a waiting list. But you want to contact wedding photographers that are around your area, and basically just say to them, if you're looking for an assistant, I'll be happy to be an assistant for free. If obviously I can take some images at the wedding, and I, like I say to everyone that I take on, they're welcome to keep the images that they take, as long as they're my assistant on the day, sort of carrying my bags, helping with the lighting, and helping set up. So that's how I've set up photographers in the past. I probably only do it now about 2 or 3 times a year, where I invite someone along to a wedding to be my assistant, because I have my own assistants. But that's kind of how I started. When I know I needed an assistant, I invited new photographers that wanted to get into the wedding scene to be my assistant for free. In exchange, they could keep the images from the wedding.
Brilliant. I'm not sure if I missed something or what you just said, but I'll ask the question, and if it doesn't make any sense, we'll just move on. What is Dog's view of Pro 100s?
What is I would imagine that said, what is Rob's view of Pro 100?
There you go. It's probably what it is. Yeah. I guess. What is your? Yeah, that makes sense. But it has written as Dog. So what is Rob's view of the Pro 100s?
On the Pro 100?
No.
No,
If you're still
I
with
don't know.
us, and if you can elaborate, we'll happily answer it for you. But we've only got a couple of questions yet, and we've run way over, so we won't be online too much longer. When starting, do you recommend heavy discounts, or should you believe in yourself from the start with your pricing?
Don't discount yourself, because you're undervaluing your own work. I only offer one discount, and that's for winter weddings, because in December, January, and February, that is my quietest time of the year. So all the way through the year, I'm stoked with work, with training, everything. But December, January, and February, I'm kind of quiet across the board. So I offer a 10% discount on winter weddings, but that's it. And that is only because I'm quiet and I just want some work to fill up my time. Don't offer big discounts. Don't offer it in money, and definitely don't offer it in the peak time just to get weddings in, because you're undervaluing your own work.
Brilliant. We've just had it in. They are still with us. He meant the Canon Pro 100.
Oh, right. Okay. So unfortunately, I've never shot with a Canon. So I've used Nikon.
The printer, Rob. Sorry, mate.
Oh, sorry. Right. Sorry. So the Pro 100 is basically the same as the Pro 10. They're kind of the exact same printers. I think they listed them different for different regions, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But they're both the same printer. They take the same amount of paper. Because I researched the 100. Actually, now it makes sense. Now you just said that with the printer.
Yeah, it does.
Now I researched the 100 and the 10 when I was purchasing the 10, and I think the 100 is actually slightly cheaper as well.
Yeah, somebody's just chipped in as well, Rob, that they think that one of them uses a dye ink and the other one uses a pigment ink, so there might be a slight difference there as well.
Yeah. So there's marginal difference, and for printing at home or office like we are, they're absolutely fine. So either of them will do, but I do think the 100 is slightly cheaper.
Brilliant. I thought it was an interesting question, so I will put it out there. So we've got a gentleman with us from Northern Ireland, and he has found that, the part-time sort of weekend photographers have had an impact on the full-time photographers. Have you found that the same, or is it, again, just believing in yourself and getting yourself out there and just sort of getting past it, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a brilliant question, and he's dead right. Here in the UK as well, we're inundated, and sorry everyone for saying this, but we're inundated with the people that are charging £300 to do a wedding, and I personally don't know how they do it, because I've seen these people offer wedding photography all day with a second shooter for £300, and they give an album and prints as well. And they're so undervaluating themselves. It's unbelievable, and the amount of work they have to go through. So my advice to you is stick with your prices. Don't put your prices down, because then they're winning. We need to keep our prices strong and just push through it. And there will be some times where you're quiet. I mean, I've had a year where I only took on half the amount of work that I normally do. And that's because a lot of the clients that were coming to me, they were saying, well, this guy can do it for £600. And my attitude was, well, that's fine, then go to that guy for £600, because you've contacted me because you love my images. Pricing shouldn't actually be a part of it. If you love my images, then you'll pay my pricing. So stick to your guns, keep your prices as they are. Yeah, move forward with that.
Yeah, it is a tough one, and we get that asked a lot here, Rob. And obviously, it is there, but if they want you, they'll buy you, and it's just, as you say,
Exactly.
the experience, give them the quality, and it will shine through. But it can be very, very frustrating. Brilliant.
Yeah, and I understand that everyone's got to start somewhere, but we don't need to start at 300 quid. We can start higher than that.
Absolutely, mate. Sorry, just remind us again, was it Photix Flash Systems you said that you use?
Yeah, Photix Flash, and it's the Metros Plus, because they have the built-in 2.4 gigahertz, and they're full TTL as well.
Brilliant. These are the very final two questions, Rob, because otherwise we are just going to be stuck here. But they are the last two in the panel. So, guys, obviously we'll have Rob back in the future, and he's often in the magazine and on the site, so we can definitely run more of these for you. Any plans for you to be running any work? I know I mentioned this today. Any upcoming workshops of your own, mate? I know we've got some in the pipe work or in the planning, isn't it?
Yep, so I've got, obviously I'm in talks with you guys to do some workshops there. I've got 3 wedding workshops that I'm going to be running this year as well. They're not live on the website, but they will be going live in the next couple of weeks. I'm heading up to Glasgow, I think, in June to do a wedding workshop up there. So all my dates will be on the website, and any new any new workshops that I've got coming up, I will also send you the links, Jay, and the dates, so you can actually filter that out.
Absolutely, just going to say that to you. Yeah, get them to me as well, and we'll share them with all you guys on the academy and on the Facebook pages and everything. So we do that regularly, and yes, we're hoping to. We're definitely going to be doing something here with Rob, probably in the warmer months, so we can do indoors and outdoors. But we're definitely in the planning for that. So we'll be doing something here based at the studios just outside Cardiff in Wales for you guys as well. Somebody's already saying, great, Glasgow, I'll be there. So you've got one already on that one, mate, as soon as you've put that live. So
my wedding workshops are full on, so you'll definitely enjoy that.
Excellent. Very last question, but I think you touched on the fact that you were a favoured smug mug. Somebody was asking about website providers and obviously WordPress being quite technical, and did we think that Wix and the likes of Squarespace are good enough? They're all different, aren't they? But they are all good. I mean, we prefer smug mug like you do.
Yeah. When it comes to websites, so people think that I must run some sort of in fact, Jay, we must do a webinar on WordPress and your site and how it's put together. So WordPress it isn't that hard. If you know how to do it, and if you purchase a theme, it's very easy to do and run. If you don't want to go that direction, then SmugMug, and again, perhaps we can do something where we demo how to set up SmugMug. SmugMug is brilliant because you can upload all of your clients' galleries there, and you've got a place where they can keep going to. So yeah, I would say SmugMug, Wix, and those sort of sites. You're kind of stuck with certain designs, and you're limited. And I think if you go with companies like that, after you've become a successful business, and maybe you've been going for 2 years, you'll understand that it's your website that's holding you back because you want to do certain things to your site, but it just doesn't allow you to do that. As where WordPress and SmugMug are very flexible in the way how you can design and build your site. So definitely look into them.
Really good point there. I mean, the good thing about, even obviously I'm only really familiar with SmugMug, but you know, you can have that grow with you. You don't have to go to the top package to start with, and you can upgrade it as your business expands as well. So, and I find it a really, really easy use of, design, interface, which is fantastic. I know a little bit about WordPress because of the Photographer Academy, but you're right, it isn't as complicated as you can. But yeah, we could definitely do something on WordPress. If you want to check out SmugMug, Mark and I have already done loads on SmugMug on the Academy, but of course I'm more than happy to get Rob back to do something on that, an intro to SmugMug and WordPress. I think it's a really good idea, mate. So we'll definitely have a look at that. Rob, that is all of the questions done and dusted, mate. Lots of praise and thanks through the panel. I know Ali's still with us, but she's just had to shoot off. But she says thanks for everybody being with us. Thank you for all joining us, mate. Thank you for your time. And that was a real insight again, and lots of very valuable information shared there, pal. So great to have you. It's been a while. It's good to have you back, sort of thing. I know we've been, but
it's good to be back. I think we've done that in kind of a record time of an hour and a half. So
yeah, that's not bad for us. That's fair play. Yeah.